Hello, my name is Rahul Iyer, and in this video I am going to share details of my final research project which I did for my MA in Creative Media Practice. For my research, I chose to do an investigation into the storytelling and animation techniques of two full-length animated cartoon features belonging to two different eras. These were Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty, released in 1959, and DreamWorks' Shrek, released in 2001. Sleeping Beauty represented the era of cartoon animation from 1930 to 1960 that used traditional hand-drawn and 2D techniques, while Shrek represented the modern era of cartoons that use 3D or CGI technology. The aim of the research was to determine which era of animation was superior in terms of storytelling and animation techniques. The criteria for judging one era's superiority over the other was audience and critics' responses to these two animations. The research therefore aimed at finding out 1. Storytelling and animation techniques used in Sleeping Beauty, 2. Storytelling and animation techniques used in Shrek, and 3. Audience and critics' preferences with regards to these techniques. The research also hoped to find out whether audiences and critics appreciate a cartoon animation for its story or the visual effects it contains. On a personal level, I hope the findings of this research would help me in my profession as a cartoon animator by either 1. Helping me in determining whether I should concentrate on creating cartoons in 3D using modern CGI technology, or 2. On the creation of cartoons using traditional methods of 2D animation. It was therefore important for me to discover what audiences and critics thought about traditional 2D animations and modern 3D or CGI animations. It was also hoped that audience and critics' opinions on the importance of story and visual effects would help me in deciding which one I should be concentrating on while creating cartoons. Information for this research involved the gathering of information from books and websites that had a direct bearing to the research project. It also included a focus group discussion and a practical experiment. The research process was interesting but had its share of difficulties. The library and web research was fairly extensive, and the selection of information that was relevant to the research topic from these two resources was a laborious process. However, it taught me to differentiate between evidence that was unreliable and that which was reliable. I consider this to be one of the important skills that I learned from this research, and is something that would help me a great deal in any future research that I undertake. I also discovered a large number of interesting books on topics relating to my research. Not only did they aid me in the research process, but also revealed topics for future research. I found a great deal of satisfaction from conducting the focus group and the practical experiment, as both these methods really helped in providing me with the information I needed, especially with regards to what audiences prefer in cartoon animation. Information on storytelling and animation techniques used in Sleeping Beauty and Shrek revealed that both traditional 2D animations and modern CGI animations relied on certain common techniques of storytelling, such as dialogues, music, songs, and voice actors. Animation techniques, however, were different, and modern CGI animations depending on computers during the process of animation. However, both types of animation start off the creative process by creating storyboards. Surveys of critic responses and audience comments on the web revealed that a majority of them responded favorably to both the case studies. This view was supported by both the focus group responses and the responses to the practical experiment, with participants in both the focus group and the practical experiment responding favorably to both case studies. The research therefore came to the conclusion that it was not possible to determine the superiority of any one era of animation over the other, as a majority of audiences and critics gave favorable responses to both case studies. Although the research findings did not help in determining which era of cartoon animation was superior, it did help in putting to rest the general view that traditional 2D animations have no place in the modern era. I am sure that the findings of this research will benefit those cartoon animators who are wary of creating traditional 2D animations for fear that audiences may not respond favorably to them. The research discovered that audiences and critics appreciate both story and effects in cartoon animations and do not respond favorably if importance is given only to effects in a cartoon animation. This finding will also be useful to both traditional and modern CGI animators, as it reveals that the emphasis should be both on story and visual appeal in their cartoons. The research also revealed that some audiences and critics do not look too kindly on the use of violence and offensive humor in cartoons that are targeted at children. Animators therefore need to be careful while including scenes containing violence and offensive humor in their cartoons. As a professional cartoon animator, these findings are valuable to me too, as I now know that I can create both traditional and modern CGI animations, as audiences and critics appreciate both forms of animations. I have also learned that it is important to achieve a balance between the story and the visual effects and exercise caution in including violence and offensive humor while creating traditional 2D animations and modern CGI animations. The practical experiment involved the creation of two animations, one in 3D and the other one in 2D. I created the 2D animation with the help of the software Adobe Flash CS5 and the 3D animation with the help of Autodesk's 3D Studio Max. I tried to include some of the storytelling and animation techniques that I had identified during the course of my research. The animations therefore were set in medieval times and had dragons and knights as characters, and also included fire as a visual effect. Although I was already familiar with these two types of software, I was creating visual effects for the very first time. The creation of the effects of fire in both the animations gave very satisfying results. I also learned that the techniques involved in the creation of this effect were different for the two animations. This knowledge will help me immensely in future animations that I create, and it has also given me the confidence to try out other effects in the cartoons that I create. Overall, I am satisfied with the outcome of this research project, although I wish I had been able to conduct a few more focus group sessions and included more participants in the practical experiment. This could not be done owing to constraints of time, and also due to the fact that getting people to participate in the focus group and the practical experiment was difficult. As an animator, I am still learning to perfect my skills, and although I am satisfied with the two animations that I created for this project, I realize that they may not be perfect. So the aim is to improve upon any flaws that these animations may have. This research did result in uncovering a few topics that I would be interested in investigating in the future. One is the concept of audience psych acting as a visual effect, and the other is whether children's cartoons should include offensive humor and scenes of violence. I find the concept of audience psych acting as a visual effect quite fascinating because it involves skillful presentation of a scene without the inclusion of digital and manual visual effects. As an animator who concentrates mainly on the production of children's cartoons, I am interested in researching how audiences react to the inclusion of violence and offensive humor in children's cartoons. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this presentation.